Yo, 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 and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday. Happy episode 258.
258, and happy Labor Day weekend, or wrap up of the Labor Day weekend, and happy September officially. That couldn't have gotten here.
September.
In the time in your life, remember.
Yeah, we both had a little family-oriented weekend.
We did. Tell them what you did.
My parents came with their dogs, and we rented a boat. We went to Tellico Lake, and actually, let me tell you about
Way
this.
better.
Holy shit. Well, I told you I was having a hard time finding a rental in general. And then I found this guy who had a rental website for Tellico, and he didn't have any available. He's like, let me give you my friend Meredith's number. She's got a little fleet of her own, her and her husband, and they might have something. I'm like, okay. So I called Meredith. That's not her name, obviously. And she was like, hey, honey, I can get you in for sure. Listen, you just show up down there at that yacht club, and the keys will be in there. We'll come out. We'll give you some directions, and then just drop it off just before dark's good.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. So $375 is what I paid for the boat for the day.
Yeah.
But like, oh God, what's it called? Lakeside,
Yeah.
like by the tavern. Lake Loudon, they wanted like $650. North Lake wanted like $500.
Oh my God.
And they all have stipulations. And they also, all of those rental companies, like a lot of those boats won't have anchors in them because it's like a liability, I guess. I don't know. No, this couple was so cool. It was so cheap. And well, for renting a boat in Tennessee, it was cheap.
Yeah.
And
On
had an
Labor Day
anchor,
weekend.
no rules. They were like, just take it and pick it up whenever. Cause like, I think the Lake Loudon one, they wanted like that price at $650, and it was like 7 hours. It was like, you get it from like 11 to 6.
Wow.
Or like 10 to 5.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, you just drop it off, pick it
Just
up
whenever,
whenever.
babe.
I'm like, okay, cool. So anyway, it was beautiful down there.
The best
stunning.
lake ever.
And like the clearest water, like no debris at
So
all.
beautiful. You could see the Smoky Mountains sitting over there. The food there, the people there are so good.
Yeah, and I didn't mean clear, I mean clean. Like it was just clean. I learned a fun fact because every day's a school day.
Yeah.
And did you know there was only one, well, two technically, if you count the Sweetwater Lost Sea of Adventure.
Jesus.
There's only one natural lake in the state of Tennessee. I had no idea.
Why do you? Okay, both times that I've gone to Tellico Lake, once with Dennis in recent years, and now not going with you, but having you come back from it. Both of you have said that to me. So what is there a sign there that says it?
No, I was just looking up because obviously you passed the dam.
It's so crazy. Like, Dennis, when we were out on the lake there 3 weeks ago, said the same thing to me.
I looked it up, and it was like Tellico Lake is a man-made lake. I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, what do you mean man-made fucking lake? Like reservoir. This was like a natural lake. And no, I looked it up, and it said it's one of the like 47 man-made lakes in the state of Tennessee. But then the guy told me that dropped off and gave us the directions, who's sitting there. He said that Tellico Lake, because it runs north, south, east, and west, is considered an international waterway.
Oh.
And because of that, you follow international guidelines of like safety when it comes to like docking your boat. So if there was a big storm cloud that came over, just bright sunny day, and this huge black cloud comes over, you can pull up to any private dock, tie up your boat, and the owners can't do anything about it.
Kinda crazy.
And you can get undercover there.
That's kind of crazy.
It's like you and yourself.
But at the same time, like, why is that not okay everywhere? Like,
well, right.
Granted, like,
no, I see why it could be controversial because people would just be docking up left and right
just
at
being
people's
bitches.
docks. However, like, I was like, what do you mean international?
What do you mean by that?
Because it runs north, south, east, and west, you said.
That's crazy.
I was learning so much.
Yeah. So the reason that a lot of the, if you're curious now, the reason that a lot of the like lakes and all of them pretty much, except for like what, 2? Is it 2 that you said?
2.
Yeah.
Freaking the underground lake, and then one like over towards like Memphis.
It's not Centerville. It's something else. The reason why we have so many man-made lakes in Tennessee is because of the rivers and the dam that we had to have for dams. We had to have lakes and then TVA and like
because we power the country.
And you're welcome, bitch.
And you're welcome.
And oh my God, someone said, where the fuck were we talking about? I don't know what we were talking about, but there was
the Time Variance Authority right here.
yeah, not the Tennessee Valley Authority. So there was something that I was talking about this weekend because we had like we went down to my parents' river house and like hung out with everyone. Phoebe came in town, like all the boyfriends.
Where is Phoebe?
She's on her way up here actually right now, and I was like, okay, well, you're just gonna have to either sit at my house or I don't know, get Logan to take you because I don't know what you're doing, babe. And so we hung out with all of them. We also hung out with all of Logan's family. Anyways, I think it was Jameson because he's from Arizona originally. And he said something along the lines of like, why don't I ever live in a place that has like a lot of water? And I was like, I feel like living in Tennessee, for you to be a landlocked state, you've got like
a lot of water.
The most water. Like seriously, like every turn that you take, there's a ton of fucking water everywhere.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was that. And so what we did this weekend, this was actually really fun because you got to go to Mud Puppies, which I'm so jealous of. Did you like it?
It was so good. However, because it was game day.
Oh, bitch.
There was a DJ.
No, you didn't.
They were doing raffles, win a jersey, win a cup. Every time it was like a commercial break on the TV, he'd be like, and bust a move. You want it? Like loud as fuck. You couldn't even hear yourself think.
Hate that.
My dad
I know your dad was losing it. But did you guys like the food?
Yeah, no, it was really
food
good.
And drink and the vibes there. Like imagine being there without that noise because
if I went there with the intention of a game day, fuck yeah,
then I would be there 100%.
But I wasn't. I was in the intention on lunch on the water.
Calm, chill. We're on the water type
and it
day.
was
not that. No. So we love Mud Puppies. Like it's so delicious. We had the mahi mahi tacos last time, or fish tacos. I don't know if it was mahi mahi. I don't know why I keep saying that, but we had fish tacos when we were there on wings, and they were so delish. I didn't really love the wings. I like the tacos better. So me and Logan switched because he likes that type of wing, but I like a breaded thick wing.
The barbecue wing. It's buffalo barbecue.
That sounds good. I don't like it when they're not super breaded. Like I like a breaded, crunchy, boneless.
I get extra crispy.
That's a good idea because without it just kind of like if you tossed grilled chicken. That's how I kind of feel about their wings. Anyways, we went on an adventure on Sunday.
I saw that. I'm like, Aaron, they're in Saudi Daisy.
We drove the boat 2 hours.
Whose boat?
The pontoon.
Okay.
The pontoon, Dad's pontoon. So all day Saturday we spent with the Fetzners because we just went down on Saturday, Sunday. And then Sunday we were like, okay, let's do something crazy because I love, doing regular boat day stuff, but they already started lowering the water. So like the water was already down like 1.5 feet by the time we went out on Sunday. They did it Saturday night. When that happens, because of where we sit out on the Hiwassee, Tennessee River, like when they lower that water, bitch, it's gone. Like it looks like Mars out there, like you've seen it. It's nothing. It goes from being a whole ass fucking river to being nothing. Labor Day weekend's the last weekend that you can take the boat out. The first one is Memorial Day and the last one's Labor Day. So we were like, all right, this is it. Like, what do we want to do? And as much as I love doing all the like classic boat things where we just drive around and surf or like, tube or go out somewhere and park and float.
On an adventure.
I want to go somewhere. Like, that's what's so cool about being in Tennessee is we could leave from Cleveland, Charleston, Tennessee, and drive to Neyland Stadium. Yeah. We could fucking go past you in Tellico Lake and go all the way up to fucking Neyland Stadium. Like, that's what's really cool. It'd take me damn near 12 hours.
Yeah, because I think they told us they said you can, that's the other thing. They're like, you can take the boat wherever. They're like, I'm just telling you right now, if you're trying to go downtown, it's about an hour and 45 minutes one way.
Yeah.
We're like,
crazy.
Okay.
Like, okay, we'll
we
go.
didn't. We went the other way. But.
Yeah, really fun though. Like you can go, you can literally get everywhere on a fucking boat in East Tennessee, like up and down at 75. So I was like, we haven't gone on one adventure. We've gone upriver a little bit, gone and looked at the factories. Yay, that was really fun. I was like, let's go down, like down. So we drove all the way down to like Saudi Daisy, Chattanooga area. We're at Chickamauga Lake. Like that's how far down we got. And then we went and we ate at this marina that's down there that everyone likes to drive down and eat to. But I have to tell you, when we were down there by Sequoia nuclear plant, you might have seen a picture on my story. We could see like the nuclear things. It's so big and so wide. That's the lake, Chickamauga. It's so big and so wide. And we've driven over it millions of times when we come back from Nashville to drop the car off. You're like in an ocean. It's so choppy. I mean, we were getting like thrown around like in the boat, and I was like, and we were in a pontoon, we weren't even in a little wake boat. And the wake boats that were down there, which everyone that lives in those houses down there, I mean fucking, we were looking about 3 mil, 2.9, like every single. And did you look up all those houses on there?
The craziest houses I've ever
seen.
Did you see
that big white one that was brand new that has the like I would say they spent $1 million on their landscaping. Like when you go around
Is
the
it
Big
like,
Ben.
did they do like the zigzag
Yes.
down? Yeah,
yes.
I did see them.
It was like right across from like Fort Loudon, like when you saw the fort and you went over. You know, that's Blount County. That left side.
So wait,
is
down
Blount.
by the fort where that like old, literally
see
where
the-
the museum is in the
yes.
state park.
Yeah, like directly across, like the left side, if you're looking at the Smoky Mountains and the fort's on your right, that left side is all Blount County.
Yeah, I was wondering because you would have to go around to get
yes, and that is actually where if you would have kept going straight and hit the Smoky
Bailey's little
Mountains.
thing.
Well, yes, but you know, if you would have kept going straight and you could like see the Smoky Mountains are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you would have run into where the earthquake was.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's where it was.
I don't like that. Tsunamis on the lake.
Turn around.
Did those
International
happen?
waters.
That's what they
Tsunami.
said.
Yeah. So, anyways, we went on this like fucking adventure. It was like 2 hours down, 2 hours back.
That's so fun.
It was so fun. We blew through some gas though. I was
yeah. Not us. You know why? My dad's going at 11. My mom's like, faster.
We need some wind.
He's like, I'm looking.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the fish.
I wish I literally, if I would have known that we were going to do that, I should have had you guys come down to go with us, because where we went by, where you go by on Chickamauga Lake, I can't think of it. It's green something, greenback, green something. It's where like the biggest Tennessee bass fishing tournament is, and there were hundreds of bass fishers down there with their boats out, and they were like the nice ones that had like sponsors on the side. I was like, Bucky would fucking love this. Where is he at? I'm like, and he's at Stir
And
right
he's
now.
at Stir.
He's so mad.
Had the best meal of his life.
Yeah. But I was like, damn, they would have loved that. They being able to see this.
Alrighty, guys.
We better hit you with it.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy. Taylar, do you remember that doctor's appointment that you were saying that you were gonna book to go see the chiropractor because your back's been killing you? Have you done it yet?
I actually booked it.
Oh, good.
I literally booked it like last week, and I didn't have to call anyone because I use ZocDoc.
ZocDoc.
So ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors and click instantly to book an appointment.
The convenience is insane. With ZocDoc, you can book in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care, urgent care, and more.
You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, which thank God, because oh my God, I feel like every time I'm like, oh no, out of network. Oh my gosh. You can see just how close they are located nearby to you, and if they are a good fit for any of your medical needs that you may have, and are highly rated by verified patients, which you know we love reading a review.
And the best part is that once you find the right doctor, you get to see their actual appointment openings, meaning it's no on the phone, okay, how's the 7th at 6 o'clock? And you're like, no, I need any time before 5. And they're like, how's the 8th at 6 o'clock?
Like, no, babe.
No. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. More often than not, you can even get same-day appointments. Snaps. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/CAC Besties to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today.
That's ZocDoc.com/CAC Besties. ZocDoc.com/CAC Besties.
Today, I'm going to be telling you the story about the Tallman Bunk Beds.
Ooh.
In the late 1980s, in the town of Horicon, I believe, Wisconsin, it was the kind of place that people described as quiet. It had just a few thousand residents surrounded by farmland where everyone seemed to know everybody else. It definitely was not the sort of place where you would expect headlines, and it certainly wasn't the kind of place that you would expect this horror story to air on national television. But in a house sitting on Larrabee Street, something began to unfold that would leave an entire family so shaken that they would then abandon their home in the middle of the night and never return.
Oh, God.
The family at the center of the story were the Tallmans, 32-year-old male Alan and 30 female Debbie, and their 2 children at that time, 7, Danny, and 1, Mary Ann. On April of 1986, the Tallman family believed that they had found their dream home, a place where they could settle and raise their growing family, as Debbie was pregnant at the time and about to welcome their 3rd child. The Tallmans were the picture of an American family. Alan worked a local job as a shift supervisor in a manufacturing plant, while Debbie was a stay-at-home mom, cared for the children, and kept the household running. They were a close-knit, church-going family with no prior experiences or beliefs in the paranormal. To the community, the Tallmans were very private and pretty grounded. When they moved into their new home, they were hopeful. The house itself was a little small in size. However, it was big enough for them and it would be comfortable enough. It was a one-story structure with this kitchen that had all the sunlight in it, bunches of windows, a small backyard, and bedrooms that gave each child their own space for the time being, because there's about to be a third.
Right.
Knowing that they were a growing family, Alan and Debbie had bought this bunk bed from a secondhand furniture store and stored it in their basement while move-in. However, almost immediately after move-in, there were these subtle hints suggesting that something about the house was off.
Ooh.
At first, it was just little things like lights flickering or objects that were seeming slightly out of place, as well as cold drafts that couldn't be explained. Danny had mentioned seeing shadows in the corner of his room, but Debbie dismissed it as a child's imagination, and Alan just assumed it was a minor electrical issue because it was an older house. But then it shifted towards subtle things in an eerie house to affecting their health. Their children, Danny and Marianne, who had previously been pretty healthy and active, suddenly became frequently ill. They were visiting the doctor so often that it actually started to worry the family. Marianne was even hospitalized twice, once for chickenpox and another time for an ear infection, and Alan himself fell ill on multiple occasions. At first, the Tallmans kind of assumed that it was coincidence or perhaps this virus that was going around the community, but they even wondered if it could be related to the house itself, perhaps maybe some old building materials or an environmental factor. So they called some building inspectors in, but tests revealed that there was no asbestos. I hate it. I can't say that. All those S's. No mold, no toxic substances, and nothing that could explain this sudden string of illnesses going through the family. And then the Tallmans' pet kitten started acting quote unquote crazy.
No.
She would run around the house and climb the walls and the doors. One night she ran into Alan and Debbie's bedroom, jumped on the dresser, and attached herself to the wall. Another time she crashed into the wall, and then she would sit there and claw at the walls and the doors and towards the ceiling. And this is going to make you so sad because we know now that that kitty was just warning them that something was going on. However, with Debbie pregnant and the kids constantly sick, they did end up rehoming the kitten.
Okay, well, first off, that's pretty par for the fucking course of the cat in general. They're running around, running into walls, jumping off of shit. So let me just put it like this. If you had to rehome the animal, you didn't need the animal in the first fucking place.
Yeah.
And you're irresponsible and should be blocked from ever getting another animal again.
Well, they do get another animal, this time a dog later on. But
they should not ever be allowed to get another animal.
No, I
Sorry
agree.
that you got haunted. No, if you have to rehome something because of a very well foreseen issue such
With a
as
kitten.
a kitten of all things.
Yeah.
It's not like the kitten's fucking clawing the kids. I mean,
Right.
and when the animal's hurting your kids, I get it. You need to rehome. And sometimes cats fucking, like older cats were like, fuck you, you shouldn't have this kid. But still though, I would do everything in my power to not rehome.
You're like, oh, I guess I gotta get rid of the kid.
yeah, fuck this kid.
Put that up. We're kidding. We're totally kidding.
I mean, I don't know, but I hate when people rehome animals and get another
me too.
animal.
And then you see it all over Facebook, and they're like, "Oh, my fifth cat. Oh, a month later, we have to rehome. We have to split these brothers. We're gonna keep one, but rehome the other."
When you split a bonded pair, you're going to hell.
And
That's how I
then
feel
they
about
get
it.
another animal, and then another cat, and then they're like, "Oh no, we have too many. Let me we know someone like that, and it drives us fucking
drives
crazy.
us fucking insane. Logan will literally not talk to someone ever again if he finds out that you did some shit like that. It's so bad, and I won't either. Honestly, I won't even fuck with you ever again. So don't tell us if you did.
So yes, they rehome the cat. One evening, Danny and his babysitter witnessed a kitchen chair moving on its own. The babysitter said that it was bouncing and rocking back and forth as if there was some like an invisible hand like kind of shifting it. Later that year, in the fall of 1986, Debbie was diagnosed with placenta previa, which is a complication that meant she was instructed by doctors to avoid heavy activity and housework, aka she was put on bed rest. Her mother and sister came to help and stay with them, but they immediately noticed that something weird was going on with the house. They both described this like heavy oppressive feeling, as if the house itself was weighing down on them and the family.
Honestly, I'm glad the cat got out of there.
Yeah, me too.
Away from this nasty
And Debbie's
shit.
mom was like constantly itching to leave. Her sister, on the other hand, started developing headaches and nausea whenever she spent any time there.
Oh.
In November, Debbie gave birth to their second daughter, third child, Sarah. And around that same time, Alan starts to act differently. His personality completely 360 and shifted. At night, he would be super irritable with really short temper. And I don't know if this lines up with his like shiftif that he had going on, but like I know later in the story that he worked nights. But at the beginning of the story, he seemed to be home a lot often. So I don't know what his schedule was like.
Right.
But I mean, anyone like my dad, I was raised with my dad. He alternated 2 weeks night shift, 2 weeks days, 2 weeks nights, 2 weeks days. And that man was irritable and short tempered. So if that was the case and like that lines up, like especially if that was like a new thing that the company did to him. Anyway, he became really quick to argue with Debbie over small things. And one evening, the tensions just boiled over. They got into this huge ass fight and he threatened to leave the family entirely. He went on this drinking binge and then he actually got up and left the house that night.
We should rehome him.
Once Sarah got old enough to be out of their room, they moved that bunk bed that they had originally bought from the basement and into Danny's old room because it was a little bit larger. So now Marianne and Sarah would be sharing a room. And obviously Sarah was still too young for a bunk bed, so she was still in a crib at that time. However, because they were switching bedrooms and remodeling everything, the bunk bed was in there so that she could eventually grow into it. That way they don't have to lug it up later on.
It's easier to get rid of the crib out of that room. Yeah.
Danny then moved into the bedroom next door to his parents, which was Marianne's old bedroom. And he was gifted because I don't know if he was, I mean, he's the only boy and I don't know why they felt like they needed to do this or maybe they just wanted to. But he took his parents' old like alarm clock radio from their bedroom and brought it into his room. I don't know. Maybe he felt like he was a big boy. He's like, well, I need an alarm clock.
He's like, well, if they got a bunk bed, I'm getting an alarm clock.
And they're like, oh my God, Danny, here
okay,
you
fine,
fucking
take
go.
the fucking alarm clock.
So Danny gets this alarm clock. Well, that first night that Danny stays in this room, the radio kind of seemed to have a mind of its own. This was one of those alarm clocks that had the like dials on it and the screen like this and the dials would shift from like the stations. Because again, it was a radio alarm clock. The story goes that the dial slid back and forth between stations without anyone turning that knob to move it. And Danny's seeing this, so he goes running into the living room. He's wide-eyed and he tells his parents like, oh my God, your clock's moving on its own. And they're like, Danny,
shut up,
just go back to bed. Well, he goes back to bed and minutes later he sees the radio move again with the dial swinging back and forth from the screen. So he goes back to his parents, Alan and Debbie, and assuming that he was exaggerating, they're like, okay, Danny, we're just gonna take the clock back because you need to go to bed. And you'll see this kind of throughout the story. And I don't know if it was just like the 80s and parenting or like what parenting was like. I'm not shaming them by any means, but like they did not believe their kids. So I'm assuming that they just had a lot of stress like in their marriage or something because they were constantly just like go back to bed or like they're
Lord.
I don't know. Because like paranormal like wasn't really a thing then, but like,
well, and they're like so Christian that they're not like.
Yeah, and it's probably a strict household. I mean,
well, I'm sure that they had a lot going on. Like, what's his name? Alan. Alan's being a bitch. He's drinking. They're fighting a lot.
He's drinking. Yeah, exactly.
This
she
kid
just had a baby. Everyone is sick.
Yeah.
She was on bed rest for however long. But even after that night, Danny's nights started becoming really restless and then frightening. He would kick and scream at bedtime. He rarely slept through the entire night. He said that he would hear footsteps that would walk across his carpet and then loud bangs that were coming from the basement. But his dad's like, just the water pipes. One night, a suitcase slid from out underneath of his bed, like across the floor, and then flew back underneath the bed.
Oh, God.
So he's terrified. So he goes and runs to his parents' bedroom again, crying, and they dismissed it, telling him that they think he was just seeking attention. And they sent him back to bed. So then I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe Danny was a little like a little boy who was jealous that there's 2 baby sisters.
Yeah, I was
kind
about
of
to say.
situation. Because like he was older. He was 7 when Marianne was 1.
Right.
And now Sarah's born. So he's probably 8 or 9 and the girls are 4 and 2 or whatever.
And I'm sure they're getting all of the attention, like matching outfits and all that
they got
stuff.
the bunk beds.
Yeah,
he had the alarm clock for one night and got taken away.
Well, that's like what I was.
That was probably his kitten.
Poor buddy. It probably was his kitten, and he got to have it because it was a little girl, and then they got rid of it. Like, the first thing I did think with when you brought up the alarm clock was maybe he's attention seeking because he's the oldest and he feels, and there's a new young one. And when you're 7 years old and become a big sibling.
Right. Oh, I was desperate for attention.
Yeah,
and I was the 3rd kid.
Right. So like you just feel like you need like, hey, someone look at me for a minute. Like, please look at me. It's because you kind of become a helper in that. But also on the flip side, I wonder if he was just one of those badass kids that never liked to sleep, like never liked to go to bed. Like you just said, he's fighting to go to bed. He doesn't want to go to bed. So he's finding any fucking reason.
The radio's
on
moving.
the planet to get out. And like
the suitcase is flying under the bed.
Yeah. And like that would sound like, okay.
Like, that's enough.
We've had enough of your lives.
Yeah.
Dad's working day shift today. So for the love of God,
we need to get
sleep.
some sleep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he goes to his parents crying. They're like, you're just seeking attention. Go back to bed.
Oh, poor kid.
He goes back to his room and the suitcase moves again. So he runs back to his parents. And at this point, Alan's just extremely frustrated. He gets up out of bed. He goes to Danny's room and he removes it. And he, at this time, takes the suitcase out of the room. And at this time, Alan and Debbie, they were still convinced that Danny was just making up stories. Well, that summer rolls around and Marianne and Sarah started also struggling to sleep. They would wake up in the middle of the night. They were crying, unable to fall back asleep. And now these are little girls. Like they don't.
Right.
Kids have imagination, but not when you're a 1-year-old baby sleeping in a crib still. You know,
right.
Your imagination is non-existent. Well, not true, but like, you know what I mean. You're not 8 making up these stories. Marianne began having nightmares and would tell her parents about a voice in her room that kept shushing her. Alan and Debbie also started noticing and hearing Marianne giggling and talking to someone invisible. At this point, like there was nobody was sleeping in the house at night, so Alan would often stay with the kids at bedtime, trying to help them feel safe. So he would either sleep in the girls' room on that bunk bed or he would sleep with Danny. And I'm sure also Debbie was like, get the fuck out. I'm kidding. I don't know. So one night while in Danny's room, he heard what sounded like mice or rats running across the floor. So he gets up, he goes and gets Debbie, and the two of them search thoroughly throughout the house, but they find no evidence of any animals in the house. And then they had someone come out and look at, just like make sure there's no holes on the outside or the roof or the,
Right. No.
And
anything,
whatever that person is called said that it was well insulated and clean. Brian said it was good.
Yeah. Pest control.
Yeah. By September, the strange activity escalated. Debbie heard the garage door opening and closing on its own. Her sleep then became restless, filled with these violent nightmares that something she had rarely experienced before. Debbie said that she didn't dream. She didn't have nightmares. She just wasn't a person that dreamed.
Damn, girl.
In one dream, intruders came from the basement, forced the family against a wall, and shot them all.
Oh my God.
And others, she would envision the children being kidnapped or drowning in a river. And the dreams left her feeling as if she was slowly going mad because she wouldn't be able to shake them all day long. For months, however, the family rarely spoke of these odd events, almost as if acknowledging them would kind of make them real. So they're like, we're not talking about it.
Right, don't even bring it up.
But one evening in late September, Alan was painting the basement walls when Debbie had called him for dinner. He left the brush on the paint tray and went upstairs, and about 30 minutes later, he returned to continue painting, only to find that the brush moved to the other side of the table and its handle was stuck into the paint bucket, meaning that the paint-covered bristles were pointing straight up.
Oh, that would piss me off.
I would be so fucking pissed off.
That would be it. That'd be...
I'm done. Basement's not getting
fuck
painted.
it. We're not painting it. We're over it.
We're done. Moments later, he says there was a shadow that sprinted across the basement wall. Alan felt a chill run through him, realizing that something strange was happening in the house, though he still refused to believe that it was truly haunted. And then one morning, Alan found the basement window removed and propped up against the wall. There's no valuables taken from the house and nothing else had been moved But Debbie would later say that, like, even to get up into the basement window from the inside, you would have to get a stool to, like, so, and it was leaned up on the inside of the wall. So, like, the window was taken out completely and put down on the ground.
And there's no, like, stool sitting around.
Right.
You know, at that point, I think I would think that we had a squatter. You know, or like a 7 foot tall squatter.
Yeah.
In the house somewhere.
Someone's squatting. Some
because
Bigfoot
like
squatting.
the shit that's happening is like not necessary.
No, I would
She'd
say
think that like there's an intruder about to come in the fucking house.
I would say that this story and like where we're about to go with it is one of the craziest paranormal stories in a way of like comical.
Okay. Well, the paintbrush.
And I think that this was an unsolved mysteries episode back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of got it away.
Yeah.
And then there was a book and like, anyway.
It just kept going.
It just gets really crazy. I'm not saying I don't believe them. I'm just saying it gets really hard to believe.
I'm just having a hard time thinking about them because they got rid of their cat.
I knew you would.
So
and I had to include it.
And like I'm having a really hard time just going along with it.
So Debbie began avoiding the basement at all because she starts reporting this feeling of being constantly watched down there. And then they decide that they're going to get a dog. And
I was supposed to go first because I have a part 2.
Oh, no.
Sorry, guys.
Can we just swap it?
No. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I just was sitting here thinking, what case am I doing again today? Oh. My man.
Can you swap it at the end?
No, it's better this way.
Okay.
This is more real. This is more raw.
This is real.
This is what happened.
So they get this dog because now they're like, we either have an intruder, we have a 7 foot tall Bigfoot squatter, or something weird is going on.
And we couldn't handle a cat, so we definitely can handle a dog.
We're going to get a guard dog.
Yeah.
So almost immediately, this new dog starts acting strangely too. They said that he barked at the house from outside. Anytime he was like out, like going to the bathroom, he would face the house and bark, which, I mean, all he does that.
Okay.
And he would scratch at the walls and the doors to leave once inside.
Okay.
They didn't rehome the dog.
Maybe he liked being outside. Maybe just like the cat did. We should get rid of him.
Even neighborhood dogs seem to sense that something was off with the house because anytime someone was walking them, they would stop and bark at the house also. Alan then said he felt uneasy everywhere in the house. In the garage, he felt as though something was waiting for him. And one day he came back from work and he felt like this like sharp tug on his lunch box, which is like one of those tin pails. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, you know, I always think of like cartoon lunch boxes when I think of that. While walking into the house, by late October, Alan had gotten seriously ill and had to be admitted to the hospital.
Oh, no.
And Debbie goes to the hospital and stays with him. And then Debbie's mother comes over to the house and is watching the children. Well, while they're watching the kids, she woke up in the middle of the night to glowing red eyes staring at her through the window. In November, Marianne began seeing fire in her room and claimed that something was watching her, hiding behind the doors and waiting to attack her. She often would giggle and talk throughout the night saying, "It's coming, it's here." Though her parents couldn't see anything that she was referring to, she would just say, "Fire, the fire is coming, the fire is here." And now Grandma saw these red glowing eyes before Marianne starts talking about the fire.
Rehome her.
Alan and Debbie thought that Marianne was making up stories, and they did not mention what she had seen to Danny, the oldest brother.
Yeah, why would you share that with the oldest brother? Because he's got his own things.
He's got his own things. But one night, a month later, Danny tells his mom that he had seen this hideous old woman with long black hair standing by his door, and he told her that the woman glowed like fire.
Wait, isn't that what you said you were gonna come back as?
A woman in fire?
A woman who was red and on fire.
It's me. I went back in time.
You did.
That's why I covered it. That's why I'm covering
came back. Because I'm Emerald.
And you're on fire. So yeah, this is me, guys.
Yep.
Debbie told him, even knowing what Marianne, who was probably like 4 at this time, that it was his imagination and that, Danny, you need to go back to sleep.
I personally think they hate Danny.
But a few minutes later, this firewoman returns and Debbie sees it.
Boom, bitch.
I would have been like this. My mom.
You see that? You see that fucking bitch on fire right there? So I thought, radio, do your thing.
She was like, suitcase 5, 6, 7, move 1,
boom.
radio 2.
Seriously.
Like full poltergeist.
I would have been like the opera conductor of the, or not opera, orchestra conductor of the shit show.
Right.
Polygraph?
Poltergeist.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like moving on.
Yes.
I know exactly what you mean.
I'm glad it only took 35 minutes for that to come out of my mouth.
Debbie sees it, but it was also gone just as quickly as she saw it. But either way, she was kind of on edge. So she decides to stay with Danny for the rest of the night. By this point, Alan and Debbie were pretty much convinced that, okay, maybe the kids aren't lying and the house is haunted. Because at this time, Alan has had some stuff in the basement along with Debbie. And then Debbie saw the woman on fire. Debbie's mom's telling her, like, someone with glowing eyes was staring at me.
Yeah.
So, in desperate, they reach out to their pastor, Reverend Wayne Dobratz, who comes to the house. And while in the home, he says that he senses this malevolent presence in the home, believing that they're targeted by the devil. He blessed the house. He provided these religious music tapes for them to play on the clock radio or something, I guess. And then he told the family that they need to pray, they need to read their Bible passages, and they need to come to church every Sunday. And despite those efforts, the hauntings continue.
Yeah, I would assume so, Reverend.
Doors slammed. These strange voices would call from empty rooms. The children were terrified. They were clinging to Debbie and Alan at night. And for the parents, bedtime had just become complete fucking chaos.
Oh, hell on earth.
The week before Christmas, Danny began sleeping on the living room couch because he was just too scared to stay in his bedroom.
Poor honey.
And around 3:30 in the morning, he saw the same hideous woman by the Christmas tree, the woman on fire.
Oh, God.
He said that she didn't speak. She only stared at him and would appear larger. Like every time he saw her, she just got bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh. Like, I don't know if she was getting closer. I don't know what he meant by that, but
closer kind of sounds right.
Right.
Because no way she's like as tall as the ceiling.
Right. Yeah. So I'm thinking she's just getting closer and closer every time he sees her. So he's freaking out because it's 3:30 in the morning. It's the week before Christmas.
By
the Christmas tree is out, and you got this firewoman who's now freakishly large in front of him. So he's screaming. Debbie comes running out to comfort him and finds him just completely paralyzed, like just standstill, terrified. Alan, meanwhile, begins fearing for the family's life, imagining them killed while he was at work. So now they've got these like crazy thoughts going in their head. They're both having crazy dreams.
God.
That night, Alan dreamed of a tornado destroying the house and he couldn't find his family. On January 7th, 1988, at around 2 a.m., Alan returned from work and was met by this like eerie howling sound, like a ooh, and this like strong gust of wind from the garage. Like it was pretty windy, like in general, he said. Like it wasn't just like one gust of wind. Like it was like a windy night and like it was like the wind was howling. And this is when he hears a voice whisper, "Come here." He searches outside. He doesn't find anyone. And so he goes back towards the garage. Well, the wind and the voice returned, and through the garage windows, he saw orange red flames and these shimmering green eyes that had blood red pupils.
It's me and you.
Terrified, he runs inside, slams, locked the doors, only then for his tin lunchbox to be thrown across the living room into the kitchen.
Just like the suitcase.
Just like the fucking suitcase,
Just like
Alan.
the fucking suitcase.
That night, Alan slept in the kids' room.
Okay.
While laying in bed with the kids, I don't know which room it was in, there was this fog, he said, that began forming on the floor, and it formed this like humanoid figure with red eyes, and it was pointing at Alan and saying, "You're dead."
Oh my God.
Before disappearing in this like bright burst of light.
Oh shit, bitch.
So Alan jumps up.
I'm dead?
He's staggering out of the bedroom trying to find Debbie, runs right into Debbie. Debbie says that his lips were blue. He was completely white. He couldn't form any words. She thought that he was having a heart attack.
Oh, shit.
So she tried to get him to tell her what had happened, but all he did was stand there with tears running down his face saying, "Leave me alone, leave me alone."
Oh my God.
She then calls Reverend Dobratz and asks him to come over right away. He's like, just play your Christian music. Okay, no.
He said, make sure you come to church tomorrow and leave some money in the offering, and they definitely will go away.
When Reverend Dobratz arrives a few moments later, probably 30 minutes, he noticed that Alan is still scared to death and shaking. So he tells the family, look, you need to leave the house tonight. You need to stay with the family. And so they all run around, grab the kids, get in the car. And as they left, Debbie saw this like small but intense flame at the top of the garage door that quickly like disappeared, like as soon as she saw it. So they go and they stay with whomever, probably her mother. The next night they come back home. I don't know why they come back at nighttime. I have no idea, but they did. They come back the next night. While they were gone, Reverend Dobratz had blessed the house, and then he was there when they arrived, and he led them in prayers and told them to play their religious music all night. I'm not even kidding you.
Great. We're going to sleep so good
Well,
tonight.
that night they didn't have any issues. So they're like, oh, the religious music is working. However, the following night would be completely different. On Monday, January 11th, Alan was working late. So he asked his youngest brother, Jonathan, to stay at the house to watch over the kids and as well as Debbie until they fell asleep. Now, I don't know why they asked Jonathan, because the report said that his youngest brother was like 18. Some said 16.
Hey, do you care to come?
So like the 16-year-old boy is coming to be the protector while he's at work.
And like, what are you going to do that Debbie can't?
No, that's what I'm wondering.
Honestly, as the wife, I would be so offended.
I'd be like, why is your
you
baby
sent me another
brother
fucking
here?
kid to sit here and watch that I have to
No,
worry
really,
about
no.
someone else's kid, which is even worse.
So Jonathan, however old he is, 16, 18, maybe those are wrong. Maybe he was like 25. I don't know. A lot of them said 16. Jonathan was a complete skeptic of the paranormal. That night, he said his mind was changed because at around 8 p.m. while lying on the floor, he heard Sarah say, "Hi there."
Oh.
When he turned towards her, he saw the same figure that Alan had described to him 2 nights earlier, with the flaming head, pure green emerald eyes. It started moving towards him, and allegedly, it said to Jonathan, I can't even. "Now you're involved," and then melts to the floor.
Now you're going to get it too.
"You're dead. Now you're involved."
Like, what?
And melts to the floor. So he screams and yells for Debbie to come over.
Debbie, come here, help me.
And Debbie comes out there, but apparently she was like too afraid to even go into the bedroom. And I saw one of the reports actually say that it was at this point that Debbie's like, "Danny, what's going on in there? Go check it out." And sends her like 10-year-old son into the room
Who she
to
has
check
it out for.
So Danny does, according to this report, Danny goes into the room to see what's happening, to talk to Jonathan.
She said, I never said I supported feminism at all.
Because Debbie is like, they're crying for her. She's the oldest by far. And she's like, "Danny, get in there." Poor Danny. Why? What?
Poor Danny.
What did Danny do?
Poor Danny, he just wanted that fucking
So
radio
Danny goes
alarm.
in, comes back out, I guess, and he says, "It's there. I can see it." So then Marianne comes running out because I guess Jonathan was in the girls' room.
Okay.
So probably in one of the bunk beds, or
Yeah.
and the girls were up at the top.
No, he said
and
he was in the floor.
Oh yeah, he was on the floor. That is crazy.
Yeah.
If my uncle's coming to stay over, my mom be like, "Get your ass on the fucking floor. Get your ass in my bed." He needs a
Wait, better than yet, like, go sleep. Okay, she hates Danny, so go sleep in Danny's bed, and Danny can sleep on the floor. Or better yet, Danny can sleep in one of his fucking sisters, or the 2 girls can sleep in one bunk, and Danny can sleep on the top bunk.
I need Danny to email us.
I know, Danny. You deserve compensation for what
you
you've
really
gone
do.
through, and
Good
you need
God.
to sue your parents.
So Marion comes running out and she's like, "I saw it too. Finally, Jonathan gets up off the floor and comes out, and Debbie's like, "What happened?" And he said it was in the bedroom.
Okay.
And I guess she was like, Sarah, did you see it?" Now, Sarah's probably like 3. I don't know how old she is, 3 or 4, probably 3. And Sarah is like, "It's still in the room," like pointing back to the room.
Good.
Or no, I'm sorry. She asked where Sarah was. Sorry, I read that wrong. She asked where Sarah was, and Jonathan's like, "Sarah's still in the room."
Jonathan, you didn't get her?
And so she's like, "Well, go get Sarah. Get back." Go get Sarah. We are leaving tonight. She couldn't handle it anymore. So she packs up all the kids and Jonathan, and they get in the car again. This is like, what, 3 nights after they just abandoned ship last time. And as they're pulling out of the driveway, Danny yells, Mom, I don't know. It's not even funny because, like, what if this is really true? I'm sitting here mocking them, but, like, it's just crazy to me. Danny yells, Mom, it's looking out the window at us. And Debbie, like, is like, okay, Danny, but I'm not looking back. Like, thank you for letting me know.
Thanks
like, I'm not looking.
Me.
They drive straight to Debbie's husband, Alan's work. She tells him what had happened, and she was like, I'm not going back to the fucking house tonight.
And take your brother with you.
So they actually wait at Alan's work till he gets off. Alan gets in the car, and then they drive past the house. All of the lights were on when they drove by, even though they only left the light on in Danny's room and the living room when they left. So they're just driving by. They just take note of that. They're like, all of the lights are on, but we're pretty sure that only Danny and the living room's light were on at that time. Which, how do you even remember with all that chaos?
When you're running out, yeah.
The Tallmans then go and spend the night with Alan's mother. And then the next morning, Alan goes back to the house to get some of their belongings. And when he gets back, only the living room light was on and the light in Danny's room was off. A few days later, they picked up the rest of their belongings and then just moved in with relatives. Reverend Dobratz and another pastor then conducted this house cleansing ritual of prayers and scripture readings. And then shortly after, rumors about the hauntings began to spread. Some claimed, like locals were claiming, oh my God, that's the portal to hell in the basement. There's blood dripping from the walls. This snow blower was out in the driveway clearing all the snow all on its own. This is what, like, the rumors
that's what we wish the haunting was,
no,
babe.
Literally, please shovel the driveway.
I wish I would wake up to the driveway being completely blown.
Right. Dozens started driving by or even walked to the house, and so the police actually put up this like barricade on the street to keep people away. On January 21st, the Horicon Police Chief Doug Glayman reached out to Alan and was just like wanting him to talk about it. But Alan said that, you know, me and my family, we're still pretty scared. You know, we're having trouble sleeping. I just don't really want to discuss it because I also don't want to seem crazy to you.
Yeah.
However, Chief Glayman convinced Alan to come to the police station and, no, like, we'll take you seriously. Just come down here. So he meets with the Tallmans, and he believed that they were pretty sincere and had been through an quote, emotionally draining experience regardless of what it was. He promised them full confidentiality and then tried to protect them from the press, from the bystanders, from the people that were walking to their house. He also convinced them to meet with Milwaukee Centennial journalist James Nelson to like break apart all of the rumors about the hauntings, like the snowblower shoveling the driveway all on its own.
Right.
On January 25th, Chief Glayman and 2 officers visited the house. While there, the phone rang a few times, and when they answered it, the line was dead. So they go and look for the receiver, and they realize that like the receiver is completely disabled. And while they're over there, the phone rings yet again. But like the line wasn't even on. And like back then, like it had to be like connected. Yeah. On January 31st, Dr. Mueller, it's a psychic, allegedly a local psychic, goes and visits the house. And he says that he felt these psychic hotspots in several parts of the home, including the basement, but especially near the bunk bed. This wasn't the first time that the bunk bed was theorized to be involved in this chaos, because during Dr. Reverend Dobratz's time there, actually his first visit, he tells the Tallmans or theorizes that the bunk bed definitely has something to do with the hauntings. Reverend Dobratz allegedly told the Tallmans that, you know, I wonder if the bed had been used for seances or Ouija board sessions.
Okay.
The psychic theorized that the spirit was attached to either the house, the land, or some piece of furniture, but he kept getting like more glimpses of the bunk bed. He noted that changing living arrangements, such as when the kids switched the rooms, it could have really upset the spirit, which is why things got like it started showing itself right around that time frame, because before it was just like a bunch of little things. The psychic group found no evidence of any sort of fraud. They believed that the Tallmans' experiences were genuine and they were supernatural. The Tallmans eventually sold the home, and I think it was like for $50,000 or something like that. But before then, they burnt the bunk bed, and then whatever like remnants were left over from the burning, any metal or anything like that, they buried it deep in a landfill.
Oh shit.
Sometime after the house was sold, the Unsolved Mysteries crew arrived to shoot on location with permission from the new owners. The episode Tallman's Ghost was was filmed inside the actual house in Horicon where the haunting events took place, and it aired in October of 1988. It was their Halloween episode.
Oh, it was a good one.
The reenactments had like Milwaukee actors that portrayed the Tallman family. It wasn't the Tallmans actually themselves. But apparently I read this article that this episode of Unsolved Mysteries, it can only be found in like a certain backlog, and that like if you go wherever Unsolved Mysteries is, ABC, CBS, NBC, I don't know, wherever you can find all of the seasons, Netflix. This episode's gone, but you can find the episode on YouTube.
That's weird.
It is really weird. And then there was one other thing I wanted to tell you, but I forget what it was. I had it in my head.
So there's no more hauntings reported at the house after this, after they buried the thing.
I guess not.
But yet it attacked Danny first?
Yeah, I guess.
And he wasn't even the one in the bunk bed.
Right.
And why is it in the garage?
I don't know, because that's true. There was a lot of shit in the garage, and the bunk bed was stored in the basement.
Right. It's not even like it was in the garage. I would have definitely thought that. I forgot this was called the bunk bed story, because I dead ass would have thought
about it.
This was like, of the house.
And I think that's what Unsolved Mysteries did, because it's really the haunting of the Tallman family.
Yeah.
But Unsolved Mysteries dubbed it the bunk bed, because one psychic researcher is like, hotspot, bunk bed.
Okay, interesting.
You know, because like there was really nothing with the story of the girl. Now the girls did, like when Jonathan was sleeping and saw it, and whenever Alan saw the misform, like they were in the girls' room.
Yeah, but no one was sleeping in Danny's room because no one gave a fuck what happened to Danny.
Danny was on his own. Danny was in the living room.
Poor Danny.
At one point,
Sweet
Danny
baby.
moved out to the living room.
Yeah, and then that's where he
time.
saw the burning woman by the Christmas tree. What were we gonna say? Just how about this? It just came from the basement, because I bet you the Christmas tree was kept in the basement.
Right.
And that's where all that crazy shit was going down with
for sure.
thing.
With the paint, with the window.
Yeah, and maybe
the
it
Christmas
just got
tree would
mad.
have been in the basement. The bunk bed would have been in the basement.
So
the
when
suitcases would have been in the basement.
So when the second
old
that they
alarm
moved
clock.
that bunk bed out, I'm sure that the ghosts were like, "Why are they moving our bunk bed out of here?"
Yeah, we're sleeping.
And then go up there and want to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
You're dead. Now
you're involved.
Now you're involved.
And there was I'm sorry. There was an article that like speculated that this was on like the land had history with indigenous, and I
now
guess,
you're involved.
You're involved. Well, I guess it had something to do with the spirit being on fire. I guess that's actually a common spirit that shows itself and is related to indigenous lands. So I don't know. I didn't look too much into it because I just couldn't with this story, to be completely honest. But I was actually really desperate, guys, because I started notes on another story, and halfway through I was like, I remember that. And so I was like, I covered that. I looked it up, 2023, I covered it. So I was really running behind. So I kind of did this story half-assed. So, but anyway.
I liked it a lot.
That's the bunk bed story.
I liked it a lot.
And the Unsolved Mysteries, they're like, down in Horicon, Wisconsin, lies the Tallman family in the bunk beds. Dun, dun, dun. And
I hate that show.
I can't.
It's so hard to watch. Like the old ones. And they just are
What's weird,
buying into it.
this is weird also for me, is that the YouTube link that I found of it was recorded from WPXI Pittsburgh News. And it was like Unsolved Mysteries in the Pittsburgh area. I was like, why is WPXI there?
That's fucking
That
weird.
is weird. Because I was like,
and
then I was like, is this story in Pittsburgh? And then it wasn't.
That's fucking weird. That you were like meant to find it. You okay. When Phoebe was little, she'd say, would you ever wish you would be abducted by aliens and see what the world looks like? And we'd be like, no one. And it took you 35 minutes to get there, so we were already
She's
saying
like,
no.
I'm actually in a abduction now.
I just
got back.
When you ever
do you want to hear?
Like, seriously, so fucking she'd take 10 years to get it out of her mouth, and I catch myself doing that now more than ever. Yeah. Okay, guys, I've got part 2 of the George Smith case. And if you haven't listened to part 1, please go listen to it right now. Stop what you're doing. I didn't do a recap because literally on section 2 of this, which is maybe 7 lines away, I'm going to go through the entire timeline again. But all you need to know is that George Allen Smith IV and his newly wed bride, Jennifer Smith, went on a cruise together, flew from their hometown in Connecticut to Barcelona, and they went on a Mediterranean cruise that George booked to the freaking nines, all exclusive package, luxury. They were in Greece, they were in Italy. Just like amazing, amazing places. And they made a lot of friends. They were partying hard. These people were like super fun, adventurous people, and they're like in their mid 20s. He's 26, she's either 24 or 25. I think I said last week he was 25, but I got my math wrong. They are just like living their best life on this cruise. And like I said, they had met so many friends, which like we joked about last week being like such like a honeymoon thing that you do. You just end up making friends while you're there. And also what you need to know is that if you did, and you cannot listen to this part if you have not listened to the other one, is that they were in stateroom 9062 on deck 9. Okay. So this is where we're picking up.
962.
So where we ended was that Jennifer goes and gets a massage. She's waiting on George. George never shows. She gets there an hour and a half early. She blames it on the time change between Greece and Turkey, which is where the boat just docked that morning. She shows up. She's in her clothes from the night before. They had a fucking bender with absinthe the night before, and it had ended in like a little tiff, but she has no memory of last night. All she knows is that they might have ended in an argument and that she thinks her husband is asleep in his buddy's room. And then she goes down to get the massage thinking that he's going to be there. He never shows. She finds out she's an hour and a half early, and she's like, well, can I just please go ahead and get it, because I'm literally so hungover I can't even fucking breathe. So they do the massage for her, and about halfway through the service, there's a knock on the door. It's a crew member, and he's like, we need to come talk to you. She is taken to guest relations in a private room, and as she's sitting in there waiting on the captain to come speak with her, she sees Paul and Galena, which is their couple friend that they have been hanging out with this whole time. Then she sees this guy named Josh, a 20-year-old from California that they had met in Florence, Italy, that was on the cruise with his family that they became friends with. And then these 3 other guys named Rusty, Zachary, and Greg, who are Russian Americans from Brooklyn that they had been hanging out with, but they were friends of Josh that they had hung out with the night before. And she sees all of them coming in. She's like, what the fuck's going on? The captain sits in front of her, and he's like, hey, I hate to tell you this, but do you know where your husband is? And she's like, no. And they said, well, we think he had fallen overboard overnight. No, like that was that.
Sorry.
What do you mean? Yeah. I was just getting a massage. I've been blacked out all night. So by the time the interviews with all of their friends and Jennifer is wrapping up, where crew informed them that George was presumed overboard, Turkish officials were on the boat and working alongside boat officials to meticulously photograph and forensically inspect stateroom 9062, George and Jennifer's room, which is, I just told you, 9062. Meanwhile, other Turkish investigators pulled Paul and Galena aside where they are interviewed. So as soon as they were getting done with like the interviews with the crew members, they were going to Turkish officials somewhere on the boat and being interviewed there. So they're getting interviewed by one official from Turkey, and then Josh is getting interviewed by another. Rusty, Greg, and Zach are being interviewed by another. Jennifer is pulled aside where she is briefed, interviewed, and allowed to contact her parents, who then reached out to George's family to break the news. As this is going on, they also have Turkish officials along with crew members going door to door down the hallway of, the 9th deck, next door neighbors of George and Jennifer's, to see if anyone heard or saw anything that night / early morning hours, which we're going to come back to that. But first I want to discuss what they found in the room that made them think that he had fallen overboard. Number 1 was a butt print on the balcony of the room that they thought, oh, he must have been sitting there and fallen backwards because he was so drunk.
Like on the railing.
Yes, and they could see it in the morning dew. So by the time the Turkish officials got there, no one could see it. But the captain and his crew saw it with their own eyes. And that's why they believed that he had fallen overboard from sitting on the balcony. Next, they found and photographed 2 small lines of blood on the bed sheets that were perfectly parallel. And it almost looked as if you were to have like a slightly bloody nose and just like pressed the sheets up to your nose and sat it there without smearing it, and then pulled it directly down. So there was no smears up, down, side to side. It's just like a perfect outline of your nostrils. And there's a photograph that you can find it easily. I have it. I think I'm going to be able to post this one without any problems. Morgan, I just sent it. Oh, wait. Do you have your phone?
Nope.
No, here, I'll give it to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It
it
looks like a bloody nose.
It literally just like looks like you pressed up your nose against it, which is kind of weird because any bloody nose I've ever woken up with never has looked like that.
No.
It looks
Massacre.
like I've drugged my whole nose across the entire length of the bed. But this just looks really neat. Granted, I guess if you're blacked out asleep, belly down on the bed, and you have a nosebleed, you're not moving that much.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to try to post this on Instagram. It for sure will be on YouTube. All of the pictures I had in YouTube, except for the big bloodied one from last week, because I knew that we would get that taken down immediately. Either way, this blood was sent off for testing, and allegedly, even though it's like weirdly been like confirmed by certain officials but not others, did allegedly come back as being George's blood. And apparently, according to some reports but not all reports, there were some small like droplets of blood found on a towel inside the Smiths' bathroom, but nothing else looked amiss. Like George's shoes were in there, just like the guys said when they dropped him off and took his shoes off so he could get in the bed because he was so hammered, but nothing else seemed to be a mess. Each of the friends recounted the same exact story that I told you in part one. So Jennifer and George wrap up solo dinner together. They meet up with Paul and Galena at the casino. The boys are playing at the craps table. The girls are playing blackjack. Josh from California, Zach, Greg, and Rusty, the Russian Americans from Brooklyn, join them a little bit later. Everyone starts drinking absinthe that Josh brought on the boat with him. Casino closes at 2:30 a.m., early morning hours of July 5th. Paul and Galena go home, with Paul actually pulling George to the side and saying like, hey, I think you and Jennifer need to turn it in because like y'all are getting kind of nasty drunk. And they say their goodbyes and are like, no, we're good. George, Jennifer, Josh, Zach, Greg, and Rusty all go to the disco, plus the casino manager who Jennifer became friends with, Lloyd. They continue drinking the absinthe while dancing and sitting down every now and again, going to the bar every now and again. And when they were sitting down like on these like couches, like couch table situation that you would expect to see in a club, which is when everyone, including George, allegedly realizes that Jennifer is getting a little too comfortable and handsy with casino manager Lloyd. George storms up to them, allegedly pulls Jennifer off of Lloyd and calls her a hussy or a bitch, depending on the sources that you read, at which point she kicks him in the groin and either storms off and is followed by Lloyd or is escorted by Lloyd, according to the accounts of Josh, Greg, Rusty, and Zach. Either way, we know that Lloyd and Jennifer are now no longer in the disco. And this is when everyone realizes that George is blacked out and down bad because like after he got kicked in the groin, bro couldn't even stand upright. This is roughly around 3:30 a.m. Together, Josh, Zach, Greg, and Rusty physically all carried George back to his room, unlocking the door to stateroom 9062 via, this is confirmed via the logs, at 3:52 a.m. only to realize that Jennifer is not in there. And immediately all the guys are like, oh shit, she's with Lloyd. Like, oh my God, she's with Lloyd. Now, very concerned about his wife, George insists that they go search for her. So all of the guys go to the solarium, which is where like everyone hangs out after the bars and clubs close that in the evenings. They are like looking all around for her. They cannot find her. So they go back to stateroom 9062. Because meanwhile, as they're searching and as they're going back and forth, they're physically holding George up. He is that drunk. And they get back to the door. I think I said last week at 4:02 a.m., but it's actually 4:01 a.m. via the logs, where Josh, Zach, Greg, and Rusty claim that they took George's shoes off and they placed him in the bed. He drunkenly like over and over thanked them. He was like, drinks on me tomorrow. And then he even kissed like one of their heads or something and like gave them a hug. And as this is going on, like once they get him in the bed, Josh goes into their bathroom of stateroom 9062 to go pee. And then all of the guys left by 4:15 a.m. with George in bed asleep and Jennifer nowhere to be found. Then, as we know, as we discussed last week, Jennifer was found by crew members in the hallway on deck 9. Crew members go to room 9062 to find George to be like, hey, come get your fucking wife. He's not in the room. They get the wheelchair. They take Jennifer to her room. They pick up Jennifer. They take her to her room. They leave her in the bed and leave the room at approximately 4:58. I think they entered the room at 4:50 a.m., but we know for sure that they are out of the room by 5 a.m. She wakes up. She has no idea what happened at 7 a.m. She goes down for her massage at 8 a.m. and she gets there, like I said in the beginning, like it was just an hour and a half early. They still do it to her, whatever. And we covered the rest of those details about her getting called and the blood stain being found by the other guests, which prompted the search for George in part 1. Now, as for Josh, Callie Guy, Zach, Greg, and Rusty, according to all of them, after leaving George's room at 4:15 a.m., all 4 went to Rusty and Zach's room, which is room 3008, which shows up on the key log, the pass key log, that Zach used his key and opened the door at 4:05 a.m. So that's even 10 minutes earlier than they initially thought. And Greg opens his room 2 minutes after that, so 4:07 a.m. And that was the next room over, 3004. So they had like conjoined rooms, you know what I'm talking about? They hung out there for a bit, recapping the night, and they ordered room service at 4:31 a.m., which was confirmed via the call log, saying that they were so impressed by their mountain of food that they actually took photos of it, which did have like the time and date on it. And Josh then returned to his stateroom by 5:15 a.m. So everything I just told you is from the mouths of those last known to be with George. But what about those staying in the rooms beside George and Jennifer's? Because their stories were very, very different, and they actually had some receipts to show for it. According to Cleet Hyman, who was staying in the room next door to George and Jennifer's stateroom and happened to be a deputy police chief, was awoken, as well as his wife, by, quote, yelling coming from the Smiths' room just after 4 a.m. And initially, they both thought it was like a drinking game because it was like rowdy, but like in good fun, like a lot of cheering and like banging on things. However, that quickly changed because within minutes, that rowdy game-like yelling turned into some sort of an intense argument that he almost thought was in Spanish because he said like the people had very, very thick accents and seemingly moved out from the room onto the Smiths' balcony. From what Cleet could tell, it sounded like 3 to 4 men were in this argument with each other. And this went on for a few minutes before Cleet and his wife heard one lone male voice repeatedly say like, good night, good night, good night, good night, as if they were ushering people out of the room, at which point they hear the door shut, and then Cleet waits like a few seconds. He opens up the door and he peeks out down the hallway to see like who's there, and he sees 3 men walking down the hallway away from the room. Now, this stands out because we know that there were 5 guys in total, one being George, the rest being Josh, Zach, Greg, and Rusty. So if they left George in the room, Cleet would have seen 4 men walking away. You expect to see George, Rusty, Zach, and Rusty.
Isn't his name Rowdy?
No, Rusty. I said Rowdy like two lines ago.
Oh.
Yeah. Seeing those guys walking down the hallway, you'd expect to see 4. Now, the way that people explain this is apparently Rusty was like a big, bulky dude, so that maybe you just couldn't see. But how I feel about this is this guy's a fucking deputy police chief. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I really don't think... It's not like Crew's hallways are tiny by any means. They're a little bit wider than you would expect. And even if they were the tiny ones, because I don't know what, they looked like in 2005, but even if they were the tinier ones, then you would see 4 people in a row. You know what I mean? Anyways, and also it looked like Cleet was a pretty tall dude because he was like standing up at this one point. And I was like, damn, like,
I'm a big motherfucker.
He's a tall guy. So if he's peeking out, he's probably like 6'2" at least. Like he's peeking out and looking over. 4. He probably would have seen 4 heads. Either way, he says that he only saw 3. Granted, he was just woken up out of his sleep. Who knows what he saw? This is important because Cleet's account does not end here. After Cleet observed those 3 men walking down the hallway, he and his wife continued hearing one male voice alone in the room, accompanied by what sounded like cupboards to doors being slammed, closed, and opened again, and furniture being moved around. And Cleet and his wife were not the only ones that heard this, because in the room on the other side, so on the left side of the Smiths, was Greg and Pat Lawyer. They heard what Greg described as, quote, trashing of the room sounds, which woke him and Pat up. Initially, they thought it was someone like crashing out mad or a couple having a good time.
Okay. Is
what he said. So they initially dismissed it and tried to go back to bed, but they couldn't because it was so fucking loud. It was keeping them awake. And then it just stopped, went dead silent for a few minutes, which both the Hymans and the lawyers, so the police guy and the lawyers, heard nothing but total silence that was shattered by the sound of what Cleet Hyman described as a, quote, horrific thud at approximately 4:25 a.m. According to his interview with investigators, this sound was so loud that it made his bed vibrate, and explained that it sounded like someone had fallen on the balcony, like slipped on the balcony, but it was so loud it couldn't have just been a person. It was like they slammed a couch or a metal chair down with them. It was that loud and reverberated.
Onto the balcony.
Onto George and Jennifer's balcony. Because it shook their bed, so it was like on their floor, he felt like. After this, it was again silence. No voices, no screams, nothing. Just silence. Not even a door opening, which everyone could hear every time those doors shut and open, unless someone quietly shut it. But it was just silence. And also hearing this exact same thing and describing the exact same sounds were the lawyers on the other side of the Smiths. And the next thing that the lawyers heard was actually crew members banging on the door of room 9062 at 4:30 a.m. after hearing that horrific thud, because Deputy Police Chief Clete Hyman had immediately called security and reported this and was like, I think someone got hurt, because it was all, described the whole thing like sounded like there was a fight, then someone left, and then someone went out in the balcony, and they were fucking moving shit around and cleaning up, and then bam, a loud sound happened. So crew members come, they knock on the door, they're like asking for someone to like come, but no one ever comes forward.
So what, they just turn around?
Just silence. So yeah, they don't open the room and they leave.
Oh shit.
Which,
now, in the timeline, is this before or after the girl gets back?
this is at 4. The crew members arrive at 4:30 to respond to the call that Clete Hyman made at 4:25 a.m. And Jennifer is found by the crew members laying in the hallway at 4:30. So simultaneously, this is happening.
Okay.
Which was, that was actually my next line, which is the exact same time, 4:30, that crew members found Jennifer in the hallway on deck 9, passed out. And 1 minute before, the Russian American boys from Brooklyn called for room service in Rusty and Zach's stateroom 3004 at 4:31 a.m., which is what they all use as their alibi for these noises reported by George and Jennifer's neighbors. But here's the thing. Zach, Greg, and Rusty, along with Zachary's 17-year-old little brother, Jeff, who was staying next door in 3004 with Greg and was too young to like go out to all these places, so he was like staying in the room waiting for them to get back. They had all been banned, both rooms, from ordering room service.
Banned.
Not allowed to order again. Therefore, no order was taken and no order was delivered. They called, but they never gave an order.
I thought they had pictures.
Right, that were timestamped. Meaning no one really knows who actually made that call because no one spoke to them, or who was actually in the room if one of them did make the call. Because the only other call that was made for that room was made 2 seconds prior to, so it was like a call, hang up, call room service to the room next door, 3004, Jeff and Gregory's room. Okay, now, if you're like me and you're curious as to why they were banned for having room service, let me tell you. Apparently, according to ship officials, on the night of July 2nd or early morning hours of July 3rd, depending on what source you read, someone in room 3004, so Greg and Jeffrey's room, the youngest, had placed a, quote, obscenity-laced order that caused them to get a warning from security. Well, at 1:24 a.m. on the night in question, July 5th, apparently Greg, Zach, and Rusty had all actually gone to the casino and then gone back up to their room because, like, maybe the food services on the boat were closed, so the only way to get food was to go up to your room for whatever reason. Either way, we know that they went back up to their room from the casino at 1:24 a.m. and ordered food from room 3004. And as the operator lady is taking their order, because they hadn't been banned yet, they had just gotten a warning from security after that obscenity-laced order on the 3rd or 4th. The operator lady is taking their order from a, quote, young man, and she hears someone in the background yell out, "Hurry up and bring us our motherfucking food," before allegedly that same guy grabs the phone from the young man placing the order and says, quote, "Make sure and get our motherfucking luggage tomorrow, and if you don't, I'll throw your motherfucking ass overboard," end quote.
Oh, geez.
referencing some luggage that apparently had been lost at the beginning of the trip and hadn't been returned to them yet. But immediately upon hearing this, the operator just hung up and called security and said, hey, they did it again. Like, they're fucking threatening me again.
We're done.
And security banned room 3004 from room service along with 3008 because they knew it was a conjoined room with like brother, cousin, friends staying in it. So they were like, both rooms are cut off. Done. So they all three, referring to Rusty, Greg, and Zach, go back down to the casino to continue hanging out with George, Josh, Jennifer, Paul, and Galena. But that's neither here nor there because no order or delivery to either of those rooms was recorded on the night that they're saying that this happened. They called as reflected by the records, but no one picked up and no one spoke to anyone. Now, as for Lloyd, the casino manager, his timeline is completely different than all of these. In fact, he claims that this was all a lie, that he left the disco at 3:15 a.m. with all of his friends, and then he went to his girlfriend's cabin, who was also a crew member, and entered her cabin at 3:25 a.m., which is confirmed via his key. His key says, because he's a crew member, it says any room that they enter, that he entered his girlfriend's room at 3:25. So he was not even there when the fight broke out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
The fight about him.
The fight about him. Now, the fight could have still been about him, but he was not there. She did not leave with him.
Right, and they were all like, no, she left with him.
And finding out that she was found on deck 9 makes sense. She was trying to go back to her fucking room.
Yeah.
And just passed out on the way there.
So that kind of clears our manager.
Right.
The casino
He's
guy.
completely cleared. He was cleared via FBI polygraph on top of all of this.
Wow.
Yeah. So after hearing all of this, and when I say that, I'm really kind of saying despite all of this, according to the ship's captain, this was still an accident. He was sitting
Overboard.
on the thing, slipped overboard. It was drunken accident. He hit the canopy. It busted something that made him bleed. And little by little, because of the rocking of the ship, he slid off.
Okay. Hard to believe. With all the screaming, who's he screaming at if he's in there by himself?
It makes no sense. Now, Turkish officials actually agreed with the captain based on their investigation. So they let Jennifer off the ship by like noon that day, and she flew home to the U.S.
That day.
But this wasn't all good enough for the FBI. They very quickly got involved and began their own investigations, mainly because of the horrifically insane shit that fucking followed. Trigger warning for rape and SA. Starting off with Greg, Rusty, and Zach, actually all of them, because within 48 hours of this all going down, okay, two things happen. First, the whole family, including both sets of parents that are here, get into a major verbal altercation with the staff over Greg's age. Now, Greg was 17, okay? I'm sorry, Greg was 19, and if he should be allowed in the disco. Second, the four boys, Zach, Jeff, who was the 17-year-old who had to stay back in the room, Greg, and Rusty got into a screaming and cursing match with crew members over who knows what. We just know that they got in some sort of other altercation, just the four of them, prompting the parents of the boys to all be pulled in to the guest relations and sat down by the fucking captain and told that if there was another incident, they would all be kicked off the boat.
Wow.
Yes. But things really came to a head on Thursday, July 7th. So mind you, George went missing in the early morning hours of July 5th. By Thursday, July 7th, a young girl reports being raped by Rusty Kaufman and the three Rosenberg boys, Greg, Zach, and Jeff, and said that they videoed the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Which
I'm sick.
was able to be found on their devices, but the only person visible on the tape was Rusty. Well, as they're looking for this video on all of their devices because they confiscated all of them, allegedly officials found a second video where it shows all of the guys, I'm talking Josh included, so there's like 5 guys total, the 4 Russian Americans from Brooklyn, and then Josh from California. They're talking about George's death and like kind of making fun of George the entire time. And then at the end, one of the boys stands up and hunches his shoulders and he like flashes a gang sign and he says, I told y'all that I told you I was a gangsta, as if he's like bragging that he did something. After which the whole crew, like Rusty, Jeff, Zach, all of them, and their parents get kicked off the ship along with Josh and his entire family, because according to the victim, who was, by the way, it was her birthday trip. She was just turned 18 from Georgia.
Oh my God.
He was in the room watching and had videoed. Josh had videoed the brother, cousin, friends raping her. Even though he didn't physically partake, he watched.
I'm sick.
So he is also kicked off along with his family. Now, we're going to touch back on this barely, but just because like it's so fucking nasty, and they don't end up, just let me spoil this, they don't end up getting charged with anything because it happened in Italy, and Italian officials were like, nothing we can do.
My God.
Yeah. As for Jennifer, she was distraught when she got back to the U.S. and everyone really like rallied around her. She was grieving horribly, and George's parents and sister really like clung to her. You know, like this is the only thing that they have left of their son. There's searches going on for him, his body, but like, however, by the end of fall 2005, so just months, their relationship was far gone. Like, his
parents and Jennifer.
Yes, because of Jennifer's actions. According to George's family and officials, Jennifer refused to speak about that night with their family in private, like even in just like all of them in a room, or officials, because she was like, I don't want to be like, I don't remember anything, and even if I do remember something, I don't want to talk about it. And at first the family was like, okay, like we get it, she's gone through trauma, you know, we don't want her to like speak on anything like that. But then they realize that she's doing it because she doesn't want to be held accountable, like she doesn't want them to turn on her. So they started being like, why would we ever fucking turn on you? You know, we just want to know what happened, and we think you're a victim in this, because their number one theory this entire time was that George and Jennifer were drugged.
Oh.
That's what the family thought. They were like, no, y'all were drugged. Y'all got roofied. These kids took you back. They stole some shit from you. Like, we don't know what the fuck. I mean, they're bad kids. They raped this girl 2 days later. Like,
Well, and I get that she's grieving, and it's either as simple as like, I'm sorry, I have no recollection at all. But for you to be like, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about with you, and even private, like nothing about it. Your son, my husband, who I love dearly. So they kind of, anyways, they really like gave her the benefit of the doubt for the longest. But then when they learned that she stopped working with officials, they were really upset by that. And they were like, you won't even fucking talk to officials about this? Like, they're helping us. They're trying to get these guys behind bars if they did something. So like I said, their main theory was that George and Jennifer had been roofied or drugged by the boys that they were partying with, which is what the 18-year-old which is what they had actually done to that 18-year-old girl that they had raped. They had roofied her, they believe, because just like Jennifer, she has no recollection of what happened that night. All of that money
that he said that he had in the cabin, like that was all there.
Apparently, there was nothing that was stolen. No, they did have that money, but there was nothing that was stolen. But on the flip side, remember how he'd gone back to the room and gotten a bunch of money for Jennifer? We have no idea. She doesn't even know how much money he got because she can't remember. So they have no idea how much is missing.
Right.
And also, we have no idea if that fucking watch, Breitling watch that he was wearing is missing. And that watch is very expensive.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it wasn't anywhere to be found. And also, George's parents actually believe that because that he had just gotten that watch. He had gotten it for like the wedding. It's like one of those watches that's like fitted to your wrist. And so to get it off, it's really tight because they stretch out with your body heat over time. So to get it off, it's pretty tight. So it would like dig into his arm. And the parents think the reason that it's so perfectly parallel was because it was pinched on his skin
to get taken off,
and that's why it was not smeared, just perfectly paralleled, sitting right there.
Oh, I like that theory a lot more than the nosebleed. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So the 18-year-old believes that she had been drugged, but they didn't do an investigation. They didn't do a toxicology on her or anything to be able to prove it. So we have no idea if that was the case. The Italian said, fuck it. Now, just to give you a little bit more insight, I want to read you this excerpt from the CBS News article titled Mystery at Sea by Timothy Dumas. And this is like, I want to say, I think from like 2010. So it's really old, but it says one theory posits that Jennifer and George were roofied, slipped a drug into someone's drink, hoping of incapacitating and robbing them. Blackouts and amnesia are typical effects of such drugs, which have a notorious history on cruise ships specifically. Moreover, that terrible night was one was the one and only time Jennifer ever suffered a complete memory blackout when drinking. She testified to this in Greenwich Probate Court. It is indeed curious that both George and Jennifer deteriorated so rapidly in the early morning hours of July 5th. At around 2:30 a.m., according to JC, a cruise friend of the Smiths, George wasn't that drunk and Jennifer seemed, quote, very coherent. An hour later, both of them were a mess. Quote, it is a reasonable possibility that she was roofied and that he might have been roofied as well, James Walker, Jennifer's maritime attorney, says. Quote, I find it strange that all these younger men had to carry George back to his room. Might have been excessive drinking, but it sounds like more than that to me, end quote. What happened next on The Brilliance of the Sea gave credence to dark imagings about the Russians. And I don't love the way that they talk about that, but these people genuinely did have were Russian Americans. They were first generation in the US, had accents, which is why when those arguments were taking place and they thought it was Spanish, the neighbor,
was a really thick accent.
they think it was actually Russian that he was hearing. But we're gonna come back to this. On the night of July 6th leading into July 7th, an 18-year-old from Georgia, so trigger warning, we're gonna talk about the details, was an 18-year-old from Georgia returned to her cabin accompanied by a male friend to find her traveling companion, almost 18, trembling and shaking. She told us she thinks that she was raped and that it might have been videotaped. I asked her who did it, and she said that it was Jeff, Greg, and Rusty that she knew of. The ordeal had begun with plenteous vodka in a hot tub up on deck 11, the solarium, which they had gone to look for Jennifer at. The alleged victim herself reported, quote, I started to feel tipsy, so I got out of the hot tub. Jeff and Greg asked me where my cabin was, and I said that they would take me back to my room. They took her back to their cabin instead, she reported. I was on my back. This is a lot of details, so you might want to skip forward. I was on my back and Jeff got on top of me. I remember Greg saying he'd get the video camera. The young woman then described in graphic but strobe light detail having sex with Jeff, Greg, and Rusty. Strikingly, Greg asked her to speak validating statements, her term, into the camera, including naming Greg as the film's executive producer. Thus, Greg anticipated questions of consent with the poise of an old hand. If she cried rape, the camera would show otherwise, because she was giving those, quote, validating statements. When Rusty began taking his turn, the young woman wrote, quote, I believe I blacked out. Sometime later, I opened my eyes, amazed that I could see again. At 3:17 in the morning, someone in room 3004, Greg and Jeffrey's cabin, called for room service and tried to order a, quote, motherfucking turkey sandwich. But the same operator who had reported them the first two times was the one on the other end of the phone and just hung up on them. The young woman came forward with the sexual assault charges, and on July 8th, Royal Caribbean officials sat down for a tense meeting with the Rosenbergs. A handwritten notion in the Royal Caribbean files read, Rosenberg family out of control, Russian family all screaming and talking in Russian, suspects in alleged rape are very belligerent. The following day, when the ship docked in Naples, Royal Caribbean ejected the Rosenbergs and the Askins family, so Josh, parties from the cruise. Josh Askin did not have sex with the young woman, though he was in the room, according to the woman. Italian officials briefly looked into the rape charges and then washed their hands of the matter, claiming that they had no jurisdiction.
Wow.
So that's the excerpt.
Terrible, all around.
In 2006, Jennifer settled with Royal Caribbean in a wrongful death suit that she filed against them for $1.05 million. She then got remarried in 2009 and had children with her new husband. Then the Smiths, so George's parents, went after both Jennifer and Royal Caribbean because they were like, you were his husband or his wife for 3 days and was the executor of his estate and the beneficiary on everything, and we still have no fucking answers, and you won't help us. So they went after both Royal Caribbean and Jennifer, and then they settled out of court in 2010, shortly before it was set to go to trial for $1.3 million. And they also required in the lawsuit that the ship release the case files of George's death to both themselves and Jennifer's family. So they like, I don't know if they were working alongside her or what was going on, but like they wanted it to be released to all parties. Meanwhile, Josh and the other 4 boys continued pleading the fifth. And I literally mean every single interview they had with the FBI. Is your name Josh? I plead the fifth. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Wow. Is
your birthday 6/27/98? I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. I know I'm not saying that right, but you know what I'm saying. Now, the FBI continued investigating this in the homicide division, international like cruise line homicide division, whatever that specific division is titled, until 2012, when the case was moved from that homicide division to the FBI's mafia division.
Oh shit.
Yet to this day, no arrests have been made in the case, despite the case allegedly remaining open and active. So was it an accident? To the
mafia because they've probably followed those 4 guys and
found something. Well, all the pictures of fucking Rusty, it's a mugshot. So he's been arrested for something at some point. What that is, I don't know. Guys, I think remember how I was talking shit in part 1 where I was like, no one ever does this case? I get it. It's fucking hard to cover. I mean, we could have done a 4-parter on the amount of shit on there.
Crazy.
The timelines are in. Remember today when I was like, hey, we had to keep pushing back because this script's getting out of hand? That was why.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have been able to piece all that together. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, they robbed him. They drugged them.
They had, I think when they went back to the room and got room service, they got whatever drug it was.
Yeah.
Because Paul and Galena left at 3 in the morning when the casino closed. And they were like, hey, y'all are getting out of hand. And that friend that left the casino at 2:30 said they weren't that fucked up. And remember when I told you that they went back to the room to get the thing? I was like, he didn't look all that drunk. He looked like he had been drinking, but he didn't look like all that drunk.
Mm-hmm. They went back to get money.
Yes, they went back to go get the money. But we know that the guys from Brooklyn, the Russian guys, they had gone back to their room at 1:24 a.m. So if they got something then, and maybe while Josh is gone with him, they get him a drink and they put something in the drink. I don't know.
Yeah. And what the fuck is Josh doing teaming up with them? The fuck are you doing? Those aren't the kind of friends you make.
Apparently that he's that type of guy. Because you don't befriend people like that. These people
literally went on a cruise, to just commit a bunch of fucking crimes?
No, literally. That's what I'm saying. What the fuck was going on this cruise?
That's crazy.
Like, what happened? So, that's that on that.
Wow. I can't believe it's moved to the mafia unit. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They know something, obviously. Damn. Well, thanks for that.
I'm sorry.
I feel bad for Jennifer, actually.
I do too. I feel really bad for her. I think she's a victim in this 100%. And I hate that, she can't.
I could also see me shutting down to the point of, I don't want to talk about it. And I don't have to.
Because I don't remember anything.
I don't remember. I don't want to talk about it.
And you don't want to make it up.
Everything I know.
Because if you don't know, and she testified in court, I've never blacked out like that before, and I have no memory of that night. So she has no memory of it, and they're wanting her to speak on it. Maybe they're wanting her to speak on the night leading up.
I think it's kind of bullshit that they sued her in the cruise line.
I kind of feel like that is worded not right, because why else would they team up with her to sue? I think that they went in and sued them for withholding information. Because remember, that article's old. Mm-hmm. So I think that they actually went in to sue for wanting that information. We want your case files, and teamed up with Jennifer, and then also did something for damages.
Yeah, because I was going to say, even if I on my honeymoon and something had happened to Aaron and I don't know because I was also drugged,
right,
and his family were to turn around and sue me and my resort because I sued the resort and they didn't get any money from it,
right,
I would be like, fuck off. I've
Yeah.
actually been with your son for quite some time.
I think that was worded wrong in the article because no other place said that, but the one article that mentioned the 2 exact lawsuits did say that. But then again, like there was a lot of that. It was actually the one I gave you guys the excerpt of. There's been a lot of updates that like there were some things in that are not right that I had to like double check on. That was just the only one I couldn't really confirm because for as much information that is out there on this case and that I told you we could do a 4-parter, all of it's speculation and word of mouth. Like there is really no fucking sources for this and everything else is just like jumbled fucking mess. Like go watch a 48 hours on it and you'll see what I'm talking about. Like the way, oh my God, I don't even know how to like put it into words. The craziness that goes down when you investigate this case. And I feel like I've missed something in it, but there's so much going on. I just wanted to make sure that I got the timeline for you as best as possible so that you can make your own decisions of that. And I'm pretty sure that all blood came back positive as being George's.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, that's not like the main thing that everyone talks about.
Watch.
That makes sense. Like
they're even oval.
Yes.
Because like the only other way I could see your nose bleeding like that is if they were like doing cocaine or something that night or snorting something.
But it would only be one
and
side.
then it would be like, well, I mean, you could use both nostrils, I guess. And if it was irritable enough, then you would just get like a little bit of dried blood. I don't know.
Yeah.
Versus like a nosebleed.
Because it's not a nosebleed.
That's the only way I could see that being a nosebleed.
Like there are sometimes I've woken up with like one drop of blood, but it's a circled drop. Like I lifted up in the middle of the night somehow and it dropped perfectly out of my nose, or it just rolled down my face and landed.
Yeah,
I haven't had a nosebleed.
Like you're right. That's something resting on it, and then the pressure from the hand being on the bed. But then, like, how long was he there before?
Well, this is what I think.
Or did he go out there thinking he was going out the door because he was so drunk and he was injured and he was attacked,
looking for?
And then he did fall.
Jennifer, yeah, and he just like accidentally fell off, and he's like stumbling around because he had been drugged, and that was the sounds that he was hearing, and maybe what he was doing, looking through those cabinets, was looking for his watch.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know.
But let's say that it is the clasp. And the only thing that would make sense for me for that blood to not be, like smeared would be that another thing that's weird is that they were back in the room. We know that they entered the room at 4:01 a.m. They were back in their room 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 floors down? 6 floors down by 4:05. They opened up Zach opened up his room 30:08 at 4:05, and Greg opened up his 30:04 2 minutes later. So
no, unless they were like really close to an elevator,
maybe
got on down, and then their room was right below the elevator. Maybe.
But what I wonder is if that like good night, like go was one of them getting whoever to leave and go get an alibi, and then the other one's
which is why there was only 3,
right? And you only saw 3, and then you see someone handles the rest, which I would say Josh is handling whatever, because that would make sense that if there was some sort of scuffle that happens, he's bleeding. Remember, Josh is the only one that went in the bathroom, and there was blood found on a towel in the bathroom. Maybe they kill him somehow, because when you fall onto that canopy, there's no way that you're just gonna implode blood like that.
Right. There's blunt force somewhere.
Yeah, like that blood, there's had to be some blood already there.
Yeah.
But there's no blood anywhere else in the room. Granted, they could have been cleaning.
I wonder what that large thud was, though.
I think it was the canopy, hitting the canopy. Because think about how loud, it's a metal canopy. But I have no idea what floor that was on. I tried to find it. There was all conflicting orders on that.
Like up on the balcony, and if there's a table there, and like if he got pushed or he fell, he kicked the table, and then that.
Or boom. Maybe they were like using the chair to like lift him up and hoist him over.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of speculation.
I mean, on our end, on everyone's end. But anyways, that's the case. I I hope that made sense.
Oh, it
because
did make sense. I thought you
it's
did a
kind
good
of all
job,
over the
but
place.
It is a crazy timeline. A lot of names.
A lot of names, a lot of people, a lot of places. Love you guys so much. We will talk to you on Tuesday for a TBB. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.